Alright, in this video we're going to learn how to evaluate expressions using variables, and we're going to start easy. We're going to start with expressions that look like this form, a plus 2b, and progressively get more and more difficult until we get to expressions of the form, in this case, a squared plus 3b squared over 4x cubed minus 2ab. Okay, and so if that doesn't make sense, variables are just placeholders. Okay, so for our first example here, let's say we have this expression here, a times b plus c. This is going to be known as an expression here. So a times b plus c is an expression, whereas a, b, and c are variables. And so a variable, the definition of a variable is a symbol, typically a letter that represents an unknown or changing value in mathematics. So it can literally be any letter or symbol. It can be x, it can be y. Most commonly it's going to be x. And it can be literally anything, but just know that variables are just placeholders. They store the value of that value given by that letter, in this case a, b, and c. Okay, so our first example is going to be evaluate this expression a plus 2b. And so in this case we have, in this first part, we have a equals 2 and b equals 3. So let's go ahead and evaluate a plus 2b. So we're going to start by plugging in the value a equals 2, and look, we have an a here, so we're going to replace that a with a 2, and b equals 3, so we're going to replace that b with a 3 there. Okay, so evaluating that out, we have 2 plus 2 times 3, right, because we replace these terms here. So that's going to yield, well, 2 plus 2 times 3 is 6, 2 plus 6 is 8. So that is our first answer here. And in this case, we have to evaluate a plus 2b for a different value of a and b. And so that's why they're called variables, because they're varying. These are changing. Okay, so the expression itself still stays the same. It's a plus 2b, but now a is a positive 5, whereas a b is a negative 3. So that's 5 plus 2 times minus 3. And so this is where practice really comes in handy here. So we're going to be careful here. We'll say that's 5 minus a 6, and that's a minus 1. And so that's our answer here. Okay, it's all about practice here. Okay, try not to make any mistakes, such as saying that 2 times minus 3 is a positive 6. It's going to be a negative in this case. All right, our next example is evaluate c squared plus d when c equals 3 and d equals 4. Okay, so a little bit more complicated here since c is going to be squared here, but it's going to be the same procedure. We're going to start by replacing our c term with the value 3 and our d term with the value 4. So c squared turns into 3 squared plus 4. And then now we're just going to evaluate this expression. So 3 squared is 9 plus 4 is 13. And so that's our answer there. Okay, and so for our next example, we have the expression e times f plus 3. Okay, where e is 5 and f is minus 6. Okay, so same exact procedure. All we have to do is replace our variables. Okay, so we have e is 5, so we're going to change that e into a 5 and that f into a minus 6. So that's 5. Notice how I have this large parentheses encapsulating this f plus 3 term, where I replace f with a minus 6 here. So that's minus 6 plus 3, and so that's going to be 5 times minus 3, because minus 6 plus 3 is minus 3, and that's going to be 15. Okay, so that's our answer for this case here. All right, next example here. Evaluate g plus h quantity over 2, where g equals 10 and h equals 6. Okay, so again, in this case, do be careful with how you evaluate this expression. We have g plus h in the numerator. Let's go ahead and replace g with a 10 here, because g is equal to 10, and h is equal to 6 here. So g is 10 plus 6. That's going to yield a 16 in the numerator, divided by 2. That's going to be 8 there. All right. And so our next example here, getting a little bit more complicated, we have the square root of x squared plus y squared. Okay, you might think that we can start to simplify some terms here, but we actually cannot, according to the rules of math. So our first term is to evaluate when x equals 3 and y equals 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite our square root term, that's square root of x squared plus y squared, and start to plug in when x equals 3. So I'm going to plug in x equals 3 here. that's 3 squared, plus, well, y is equal to 4, so that's 4 squared, right? So that's going to be the square root of 3 squared is 9 and 4 squared is 16. So we have the square root of 9 plus 16. And that turns into the square root of 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. So that's our answer here. What about in this case here, okay? Evaluate this expression when x is equal to minus 5 and y is equal to 7. All right, so when x is equal to minus 5, we're going to go ahead and start to replace these terms here. So that's going to be the square root of x squared plus y squared again. Okay, so now let's replace when x is equal to minus 5. Okay, and notice how I put parentheses here. So minus 5 in parentheses squared is actually going to be a positive 25 here. And then 7 squared is going to be a positive 49 here, okay? And so we have the square root of 25 plus 49, and we're going to leave that as root 74. And we can box that. Technically, we can simplify this a little bit further, but we're going to go ahead and leave it in this answer here. All right, next up, we have to evaluate the expression here. That's going to be d cubed minus e over root f when d equals 3 and e equals 5 and f equals 4. So again, we're just going to start to replace these terms. So again, d is going to be 3 cubed minus e is 5. Okay, so evaluating 3 cubed minus 5 over root 4. Okay, so 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. And so that's going to be 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So we have 27 minus 5 over 2. Okay, and so that's just going to be 27 minus 5 is 22 over 2 is 11. Okay, so that's the answer for this case here. All right, and so for our last expression, we want to evaluate a squared plus 3b squared in the numerator all over 4x cubed minus 2ab when a equals 2 and b equals 3 and x equals 1. So go ahead and pause here and see if you can evaluate this by yourself, see if you can get the correct answer before moving on. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this expression. All we have to do is just start to replace each of these terms. So a squared, a is 2, so that's going to be 2 squared plus a 3, and we have a b squared, so b is 3, so that's 3 times 3 squared, over a 4x cubed, so x is 1, and so that's 4 times 1 cubed, minus a 2ab term, so a is 2 and b equals 3. Okay, and all we have to do is evaluate each of these terms one by one. So that's 2 squared plus a 3 times 3 squared, so that's going to be a 4 plus a 27 in the numerator. And then down here in the denominator, we have 4 minus 2 times 3. That's going to be 4 minus 12. So 4 plus 27, that's going to be 31 over minus 8, or rewriting that as minus 31 over 8. And that is going to be our final answer there. All right, that's it for this video. If you want the written form of these notes, you can download them for free in the link in the description. You have several more examples and practice problems for you to go through. If this was helpful, definitely like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. See you next time.